Everyone complicates how to earn online in 2025. I'll show you how boring and effective it really is. Didn't get what I just said? Let me show you. I don't believe in passive income, and yet I make money while I sleep. Everyone complicates how to earn online in 2025. I'll show you how boring and effective it really is. Didn't get what I just said? Let me show you. You're not broke because you're lazy. You're stuck because you've been lied to. They sold you on funnels, crypto shortcuts, affiliate miracles. But here's the truth. Making real money online feels unimpressive. No Lambos, no viral explosions. Just a system so quiet and consistent that most people scroll past it. That's why 90% give up. They're addicted to chaos, not clarity. There's something even more dangerous than wasting time. Thinking you're doing the right thing when you're actually digging deeper into the wrong hole. And in 2025, with AI everywhere and digital noise louder than ever, this silent trap is costing people not just money, but years. But there's a catch, and hardly anyone talks about it. I'll get to that in a moment. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly confident in how you make money? Not hopeful? Not hustling? Confident? If your answer is silence, that's exactly why you're here. But what if I told you there's a simple method, not easy, but simple, that you can copy regardless of followers, niche, or budget? You're about to see how it works. But first, I want you to meet someone. Someone who thought just like you, and who almost gave up, until one message changed everything. I'll introduce him in a second. Jake wasn't trying to build an empire. He just wanted to stop feeling like a failure every time rent was due. 32. No kids. Working a remote job that barely paid enough to cover his student loans and rising rent in Dallas. He had tried selling t-shirts, learning crypto, even filming YouTube videos. None of it stuck. The worst part? He wasn't dumb, just lost in noise. He kept asking the same question. What am I missing? He found the answer by accident. One night, scrolling Instagram at 2 a.m., he replied to a story from someone who mentioned closing a $2,000 deal over chat. Jake didn't believe it, but he was tired, not just physically, but emotionally bankrupt. So, for the first time, he asked a different question. What if it's not about the money, but about the message? That night changed everything. Not because of some secret strategy or viral growth hack, but because Jake saw something that flipped a switch. A stranger explained the concept of earning through relevance, speaking directly to someone's pain in a way that makes them feel understood before they even ask for help. Simple, right? But almost no one applies it. Why? Because it forces you to be clear, honest, and intentional. 3 things most people avoid online. And here's the real twist. Jake didn't have an audience. Less than 700 followers. No ads, no team. Just a clear offer, a simple way to talk about it, and the courage to show up daily. That's it. In his first 60 days, he made $11,300, all from conversations. No hype, just real help. But what actually made people buy from Jake? Wasn't the product. I'll get to that. But first, there's a mistake he almost made. And it's the same one that keeps most people broke. Jake almost ruined everything. Not because he lacked effort, but because he followed the crowd. He did what most people do when they decide to make money online. He focused on volume instead of clarity. He started posting more, copying trending formats, tweaking his bio, changing fonts, looking for the perfect hook. But nothing moved. No new sales. No real conversations. Just likes, views, and silence. That's when I told him something that stopped him cold. You're trying to be loud in a room where no one's listening. Fix your message, not your microphone. Most people think their problem is exposure. But in 2025, the real problem is precision. It's not about being seen by more. It's about being understood by the right few. But there's something deeper that makes this even harder. And I'll come back to that. The silent mistake Jake made, and the one that destroys most creators, freelancers, even coaches, was thinking people buy from logic. They don't. They buy from alignment. They buy when they feel seen, when their fear is spoken before they name it, when their dream is described better than they can. That level of emotional clarity isn't copywriting. It's listening with empathy, then reflecting that truth with words that cut. There's a reason a product can be 10 times better, but still lose to a worse one. It's not the product, it's the position. And here's where Jake almost failed. He tried to sound like an expert, instead of speaking like a human. That small shift, from explaining to resonating, unlocked everything. But it only worked because of one principle. A framework I call magnet plus message plus momentum. I'll break it down next. But what it does is disturbingly simple and devastatingly effective. The reason Jake's income turned from silent to scalable wasn't because he got lucky. It's because he finally understood this. If you want consistent money online, you need 3 engines running together, not just one. Most people spend years perfecting one part and wondering why they never lift off. They post content, but have no offer. They build an offer but speak to no one. Or worse, they sell hard, but to the wrong people. That's where the framework begins, and where 90% fail. Let's break it down. Magnet is who you attract, not in theory, in real life. Who sees your content and thinks, "This person gets me"? Who hears your words and feels like you just described the thing that keeps them up at night? If you can't name that person with detail, your entire system is cracked before you even build it. But I'll return to the silent danger that follows this in a moment. The message is what you say and how well it lands. Most people confuse noise with clarity. A message that truly works makes people pause. It says, "This was written for me." You're not trying to sound smart. You're trying to be the first person who describes their internal chaos in plain language. When done right, you don't chase clients. They DM you asking, "How do we start?" Finally, momentum. The follow-through. The conversations, systems, and repeatable actions that turn one sale into a pipeline. Most people wait to feel confident before moving. That's backwards. Jake didn't wait to feel ready. He built clarity by doing. And the moment he applied all 3 elements together, the right people saw him, the right message hit them, and the right steps moved them, things changed. But here's the twist. Even this framework won't save you if you ignore what I'm about to show you next. A contrast that explains why 2 people with the same tools end up in completely different places. One breaks free, the other stays broke, and the difference is invisible until it's too late. Jake wasn't the only one who learned the framework. Kevin did too. On paper, they had everything in common. Both in their 30s, both started with under 1,000 followers. Both had a service that helped real people. But one of them built a full-time income in 5 months. The other? Still tweaking his logo. What happened between them reveals a split-second decision most people make without knowing. And it's exactly what keeps them trapped. Kevin understood the framework. He memorized it, even recited it back to me. But here's the problem. He executed it like a perfectionist. Every video took a week. Every post was filtered through 5 apps. every message drafted, rewritten, reworded, until it lost all life. His fear wasn't that it wouldn't work. It was that he might look small trying. So instead of testing the system, he polished the illusion. But the market doesn't reward polish. It rewards clarity. It rewards motion. Jake was different. He didn't aim for perfect. He aimed for conversations. If 5 people liked his video, he messaged 3. If 1 replied, he asked a question. If they said, "I'm just curious," he dug into the real pain. That's what Kevin never did. He stayed behind the screen, hoping content would do the heavy lifting. But content is the doorway, not the conversation. And there's a critical moment where that door either opens or closes forever. I'll show you how Jake opened it, with a simple sentence. But before that, let's go deeper into the real gap here. It's not about tactics, it's about the internal posture. Kevin was performing. Jake was connecting. Kevin was creating distance. Jake was removing it. And in 2025, where audiences are overwhelmed with production and starving for truth, this is the edge that matters. But it only works if you understand one more shift, a mental reframe that turns a message into momentum. And it starts with the most human part of the process, the DM. It's wild how something as small as a direct message can unlock a $3,000 client or completely kill trust in 2 sentences. Jake understood this, not because he was a natural, but because he was observant. He noticed something no one teaches. Most people ruin the conversation before it starts. They pitch too soon, ask vague questions, or worse, sound like everyone else. But there's one opening line that flips everything. I'll give it to you. But first, let's unpack why this matters more than ever in 2025. People don't trust links anymore. They don't trust polished ads, countdown timers, or the endless stream of digital noise. But they still trust conversations. Real ones. The kind where someone pauses, listens, and responds like a human. That's the crack in the system. And the only place left where underdogs can still win. But there's one condition. You can't sound like a script. Because if you do, you'll trigger their guard. And once it's up, it rarely comes down. Jake's approach was simple. Every time someone followed him, he sent one line. Are you here for the content, or are you looking for something specific? That's it. No pitch, just curiosity. And because it felt real, people responded. Some said they were just browsing. Others asked questions. But enough of them opened up. And from there, Jake did what most never do. He asked about their goals, their fears. He let them talk. And when it made sense, he offered a next step. No pressure, just alignment. What made this work wasn't the script. It was the posture. Jake wasn't chasing clients. He was qualifying them. Like a doctor listening before diagnosing. Like a guide checking if the traveler even wants to make the journey. That shift, from persuading to sorting, made his process feel effortless. But don't get it twisted. This doesn't work if your offer is unclear, or if you can't name the exact pain you solve. That's where most people collapse. But not Jake, because his offer was designed around one thing, and I'll show you what that is next. Jake didn't sell a product. He sold relief. That's why people paid attention. Not because his service was the cheapest or most advanced, but because it was positioned around the one thing his audience couldn't ignore: their own discomfort. Most creators build offers around what they want to teach. Jake built his around what people desperately needed to stop feeling. There's a critical difference, and it's the reason why someone with 700 followers outsold creators with audiences 10 times bigger. Here's the truth. People buy to solve pain, not fulfill potential. You can inspire them with vision, but they pull out the card when the current reality becomes unbearable. Jake's offer didn't list features. It diagnosed frustrations. He didn't say 6 modules, 10 hours of video. He said, no more second-guessing every message you send. No more talking to 10 leads and closing none. No more waking up wondering if you should give up. That's what sold. And here's where most people break the moment. They over-explain. They flood the prospect with details, hoping logic will seal the deal. But as Dan Martell says, confused buyers don't buy. So Jake kept it simple. A 1-paragraph message. Clear, specific, and rooted in lived experience. No tech jargon. No pressure. Just, here's what we fix. Here's how it works. Here's the next step if you're ready. That message, sent dozens of times per week, built him a 5-figure income. But Jake knew something else too. Offers don't convert if the buyer doesn't believe in themselves. That's why he framed every close with this line. Most people like you hesitate and end up here again in 6 months. But the ones who commit now, they don't come back. That line didn't manipulate. It mirrored the cost of delay. And it worked. But to close the loop, Jake still had to do one more thing, something most people avoid. He had to ask for the order. And how he did it will probably surprise you. I'll show you in the final part. Most people hesitate at the edge of the sale. They deliver value, build trust, even get the "I'm interested" message, then freeze. Jake didn't. Not because he was fearless, but because he knew something most don't admit. Indecision is the enemy of results. He learned that when someone says, "This sounds good," they're not saying yes. They're waiting to be led. And if you don't lead them, they'll disappear into another tab, another scroll, another month of doubt. That's the cost of silence. But there's a way to prevent it. And Jake used it every time. His approach was never aggressive. He didn't pressure. He anchored. Right when someone showed interest, he'd say, "Sounds like we're aligned. Want me to grab the link for you?" That sentence alone closed over $40,000 his first year. Why? Because it made the decision simple. Not heavy, not final, just the next logical step. If they said yes, he'd send the link, pre-written, pre-positioned, ready to go. If they hesitated, he'd ask one thing: what's holding you back? That question reopened the door, and often revealed the fear beneath the surface. From there, he listened, reframed, and reoffered. Here's the truth. If you're not ready to take payment when the moment hits, you're not ready to earn. Jake had his Stripe link saved, his Google Doc prepped, his calendar synced. Because online money doesn't wait. It moves fast, and those who hesitate get past. But that wasn't the real win. The real win was what came after. When a client paid and messaged days later saying, "I can't believe I almost skipped this." That's when Jake realized something that will probably hit you too. Most people think making money online is about funnels, traffic, tech. But it's not. It's about being real, being ready, and removing friction. You don't need a course. You need a reason. You don't need a big following. You need alignment. You don't need hype. You need humanity. Jake proved that. And if you've made it this far, maybe you're ready to prove it too. Because one message can change your month. One offer can change your year. But one habit, the habit of showing up, talking real, and asking clearly, can change your life. That's how I earn online in 2025, not with noise, but with quiet precision. And now, you can replicate it. Or, you can scroll away and wonder again 6 months from now. You decide. But if you felt something click here, don't keep it to yourself. Share this. Comment, "I'm done waiting." Because if you got this far, you're already not like the rest. You won't understand how online income really works until you watch the next video right here. Click it now, otherwise you're just guessing.